Hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to new faces, old faces. I don't mean old faces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. Familiar faces. Known faces.
How to make friends and influence.
That's a book I've never read.
That's a good one.
Maybe I should. I'll put it on the list's too long. I'll stick it on the bottom. It can work its way up. So welcome everybody. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for coming. We have a topic for this week, which is copying. Hopefully it will be interesting. I've actually thought of a few things to say on the subject, so that's always a good start. We'll see how we go. Have you any experience of mindfulness? Not really.
I've heard it.
You've heard of it? Okay. Well, this is the Deal Mindfulness Group, and we practice a bit of mindfulness, and it's about encouraging people to develop their own practice. So the essence of mindfulness is very much being in the present moment. So the past has gone. We can't do anything about changing the past. We can just accept it for what it is. The future hasn't happened, and yet we spend a lot of time worrying about what might happen in the future, even though we have no idea. What we don't really do is spend enough of our time actually present in the present moment, this moment in time, right now. And that's what mindfulness is. It's about enabling people to experience their lives in this moment, because it is the only moment that we have to experience being alive. And the aim of the group is to help people to do that. So there's a few exercises that we do, which hopefully, as people practice them when they come to the meetings on a Wednesday, they also practice bits of them, or all of it, or elements of it throughout the week, in their own time, as it were, and enable them to develop their own practice. So we'll start with an exercise, the one that we usually start with, and this is the one where we engage our senses. So it's the information that we gather from our senses, which does tell us where we are in time and space. Whether we choose to trust the information that we receive from our senses is another thing. And, philosophers have spent years debating and meditating on whether or not we can trust the information we receive from our senses. But I suppose we have to take it on face value and just be aware of it. So to begin, we start with vision and what we can see, and we just have a look around and see what we can see in this moment. And it's just about taking in colours, shapes, visual textures. We don't have to try and itemise everything that we can see or label them. Just be aware of seeing. And once you've had a little look around, you can close your eyes, and then you can shift your awareness to the things that you can feel. So we'll start at the top of the body and be aware of the fact that you have a head, and that you can feel your head resting on your neck. And then move down and become aware of your shoulders. Be aware of any tension you may be holding in the neck and the shoulders. Be aware of your arms. Aware of the position of your arms, how you hold them at rest. And then be aware of your back. Aware of your back in contact with the chair, if it is. Aware of your spine. Gravity pulling down through your bottom pressing into the seat. Next, you can become aware of your legs, the position of your legs, the bend of the knee, down to your feet being in contact with the floor. And next, you can bring your awareness to your clothes against your skin. And you can feel it on your legs, on your chest, your back, your shoulders, perhaps on your arms. And then allow yourself to become aware of the movement of air on your skin. And it's only faint, but you can still be aware of it. Then we can move our awareness to our sense of smell. And just take a breath through the nose. And as when we were looking, we're not trying to identify or label any smells. We're just being aware of smell in this moment. And then taste. Move your awareness to the taste that is in your mouth right now. And then the final sense is to listen, is hearing. And for the next few moments, just allow sound to happen. Allow sound to enter your ears and be aware of sound as it happens moment by moment. And if your mind wanders, it doesn't matter. Just acknowledge that your mind has wandered and bring your attention and your awareness back to just listening. Good. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Right, so the topic for this evening's little chat is copying. And as a species, we human beings are very good at copying. And it serves a very important purpose. It serves an important role. We learn through copying primarily. If you think about when you're a baby, or well, you may be able to remember being a baby, but if you think about babies, You know, they learn to speak, don't they, by copying. They listen, and there's that repetition, and they copy their parents, the people around them. In numerous instances, we learn by copying. You know, I play music, and no end of things, elements to music I've learned by copying other people, watching what they do and copying it, and then repeating it, and doing it that way. Through when we were at school, a lot of what we do at school involves copying, doing what other people do, seeing how they do it, repeating it ourselves until we acquire those skills. It's also something that's used by, you know, some of the, what would we call them? Sort of some of the personal development figures that you get. There are people I've mentioned before, people like Anthony Robbins and people like Paul McKenna. And if they are enabling people to either develop new skills or to improve at something or to grow in confidence or something like that, they will suggest that you visualise a particular person that you feel can perform a particular task, or, you know, if it's a confidence thing, maybe get you to visualise somebody that you know who is very confident, and then almost imagine stepping into their body and copying the way that they act. Anthony Robbins often talks about, you know, when there's something that he wants to achieve, he will seek out somebody that is very good, somebody that has displayed a particular quality, and he will copy what they do. He will copy either their mindset, or he'll copy their movements in order to acquire their way of thinking and acquire their skills. And we do it all through life. We copy. And it's something that we do naturally as well. It's not something necessarily that we have to, it's not a skill that we have to practice ourselves. We seem to have a built-in, innate ability to copy. But it also has a downside. Whilst it's incredibly good at teaching us things and allowing us to develop, it also has negative elements to it. You know, the number of times I say something to my children and think, my God, I sound like my dad. But that's something that we do a lot, and certainly, as you know, in my role as a therapist, the number of people that have come to see me, and the issue that they are presenting is something that they have learnt from their parents. You know, their mother will have the same issue, and they're just copying. Or you see particularly negative personality traits in people. You know, if somebody comes from an abusive background, chances are very strong that they themselves will acquire those traits, and they will be abusive themselves. They just copy. They've learnt to copy, and then they mimic it and they copy it, even though they might not want to. They do. There's just that natural instinct in us to pick up on others and copy what they do. You know, they talk a lot about dynamics within a group, and people will copy the actions of others within a group, even if, you know, you were to ask them in isolation whether it's a good idea. You know, there's been all those studies where they split people up and they say, okay, you're prisoners and you're guards, and before long all the guards are behaving barbarically, and they're all doing it together, and they're all copying each other, kind of geeing each other on, and then they show them afterwards, and the people will say, I can't believe I behaved like that. I would never have behaved like that ordinarily. You know, put in that situation, they start copying each other, and it just becomes natural. So there's this negative aspect to it. It seems that we are not necessarily able to be as selective as we would like to be about the things that we copy. We're not able particularly well to look at what somebody else is doing and say, I'm not going to copy that. It just seems that there's something in our makeup that causes us to copy like that. So how can we remedy that? Is there a way that we can develop the ability to be more selective about what we choose to copy? I'm looking around.
Ooh.
It's going
It
to-
takes a lot.
Isn't it, eh?
Given that this is the Deal Mindfulness group, and we always talk about being mindful, and all of the things, the topics every week always somehow deviate and come around to the subject of being mindful. What could possibly be something that you could practice that would enable you to be more selective about things that you choose to
But
do?
it takes a lot of courage not to do what everybody else is
It
doing.
does
in
take
a group.
courage. It does take courage. It does. And I would suggest it also takes awareness. Awareness of yourself. Awareness of your own, the ability to be aware of how you are acting, how you feel. Aware of the situation that you are in, so that you can be aware of when you are copying somebody else, or just copying a learned behaviour that you've picked up from your father 20 years, 30 years previously. And so my proposal is that the tool that we can use to enable us to do that is mindfulness. By being mindful, by developing our mindful practice and being able to be more mindful, it will allow us to identify those situations where, one, maybe it's appropriate to copy, being aware of where there is a gap in your skills or somewhere that you could improve, and thinking, okay, who can I copy to fill this gap? I'm aware that there's something I could do better, there's something I would like to achieve. Who can I copy? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything that I do at this group, I've copied from somebody else. I'm not afraid. It was Newton that said, stand on the shoulders of giants. And because we copy what's gone before. So by being mindful, that one, it enables us to be aware of where potentially there is an opportunity for growth, and be aware of who we could possibly copy and mimic to fill that. But also, and more importantly, by being mindful, you can be aware of when you are perhaps replicating destructive or negative behaviours. I certainly try to be aware as I can of when I am copying the things that my parents did that perhaps weren't brilliant, because parents are not perfect. All parents make mistakes. All parents cock it up at
That's
some point.
David Bacon, poor devil.
They all do. And that's the problem, isn't it? You see, as children, we place them on a pedestal and think our parents are perfect, they can do no wrong, everything they do is right, I must copy and learn from everything that they do. Of course, that's not the case, because parents are only human. And so, I certainly try, don't always succeed, but try to be aware of when I'm perhaps mimicking a learnt behaviour, something that I've picked up from my childhood, and I'm now bringing to my own family. Not always able to stop it. It's often afterwards, isn't it? You act or speak. But again, hopefully by being aware, I'm able to notice, so that I can either make a a mental note or a little commitment to try not to do that again, or be able to remedy the situation there and then. If I speak and I realise that I've just copied something I've heard before, if I'm aware of it, then I've got the opportunity then to say something else, something that comes from here, from me, from this moment, should I say, that comes, that's appropriate for this moment, rather than something that's come from 30 years ago, which has nothing at all to do with this moment. So I suppose it's me making the case for the benefits of being mindful. I'm sure you don't need me to sell you mindfulness anymore. I've done it enough over the weeks, but I suppose every little bit helps, and every extra bit of persuasion that there is in there to encourage you to practice, because the benefits are so real, and the opportunities that it can present can be so profound. That's, as I see it, just another one. Does anybody, I should open this up, does anybody have anything that they wish to say, comment, ask?
I think that one of the hardest things about keeping mindful at all times is when, if somebody's coming at you with great speed in a conversation, with a bit of confrontation going on, then sometimes it's very hard just to slow the situation down to respond in a mindful fashion.
It is very difficult.
Because I don't like confrontations.
No.
It gets me nervous, and if I'm nervous, I find it's very...
Well, that's it, because when emotion comes to play, whether it is nerves or fear or whatever it may be, that's when we switch into a slightly different mode, something a little bit more primal.
Yeah.
And when that happens, because the human brain has to process so much information, it creates many shortcuts. It programs itself with what it, and that's the whole copying thing as well. If we see somebody else acting in a particular way, that's an immediate shortcut for our brain. We go, okay, I don't need to think about this, I don't need to work out my own way to respond, I'll just do what they do. And when we do that, don't we? We all do that. Let's just do what everybody else does, because what fork are they using? Are they using that fork? I know I'll use that fork now. I don't look impolite, and I look like I'm a civilised human being. But that's one of the reasons why the human brain does that, because it's a shortcut. It prevents it from having to work out what to do itself. It can just go, oh, that's the model, I'll copy that. And so, when we get in a situation as you're describing there, Zaza, where somebody's perhaps coming at you and flusters you, the immediate, or the primal element to our being, to our brain, will immediately look to some stored procedure, something that it has in there as a whether it's a copied procedure or something else. Maybe it's a way that you've responded in the past, and so it can just grab at that really quickly and throw it out there. And as you say, that's not necessarily being mindful, because that may be, that stored procedure could be, it's coming from the past, it's coming from a past event, perhaps has very little to do with the present moment as it is now. And so yes, it is very difficult. It is very difficult. Excuse me. I wolfed my dinner down before I came out.
Not only, for example, we could be, you've learned some behaviour from somebody else and you continue to use it, although it becomes habit, as opposed to, you've learned it, you keep doing it. It might not be good, but you keep doing it because that's what you've learned.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking, maybe actually copying other people's quite limiting.
It can be, yeah.
In terms of, you know, if you do what 95% of the population does, you're going to be like 95% of the population, and you might be happy with that.
And that's a good
you
point.
Might call that, but
Yeah.
might want to go a bit
Well,
further.
that's a good point, because if you look at the real trailblazers,
Yeah.
those people that have changed the world and been unique, or have been inventive or creative or whatever,
Set
they did
apart,
that
sort of thing.
by not copying. And as I said, Newton famously said, he stood on the shoulders of giants. He looked at what had gone before and then added to it.
Yeah.
But certainly, I mean, if you read a lot about him, his personality was incredibly driven and arrogant, and probably quite an obnoxious person. But it was that that differentiated him from everybody else and made him not copy everybody else and be committed to his ideas. So yeah, I would argue that you're right. There are certainly occasions when it's good to challenge.
Push the envelope.
Exactly. Push it, not do what everybody else does. I'm trying to remember. There was somebody. There's a very famous quote, so famous that I can't remember what it is. And I can't remember who it was that said it. But it was, it's along the lines of the world was changed by people that didn't conform. It's those people that weren't satisfied with conforming with the way that things are and copying the way that everybody else did it and falling into line. They're the ones that changed the world. They're the ones that actually affected any kind of change. And you have to, in order to do that, there has to be a level of awareness. You have to be aware that you have to be aware that you're different. You have to be aware that there is that drive there. You have to be aware that there is that difference and that gap. There's probably a few that weren't aware, that just did it anyway. Exactly, the arrogant so-and-sos.
Yeah.
But I would suggest that there was, even if they were arrogant so-and-sos, fully committed to their own beliefs and their own ideas. They were aware. They knew that they were doing something different and that they were challenging the norm rather than just copying the norm.
I think also, if you blindly copy, for example, I used to work for a company, and it was a very old company, and they'd begun whatever years, and they were pretty stagnant. That you'd ask them, why did you do it like that? And they said, well, we've always done it like that. We have always done it like that. So they've learned it from as apprentice, and they've moved up and they've taught the apprentice, and it kind of like, the company died because it just copied itself and carried on doing what it always done. So copying, you could argue, is very limiting.
I would agree. Because there is a danger that...
so far, and also, for example, like if you just learn parrot fashion, you haven't got a depth of understanding maybe where you can use that information in a new way or in a different way,
That's a good point, because I was thinking before, it's when in the olden days, before people could write, people learnt stories as a way of being able to pass them on. And often they would do it in poetry form. But what happened was, over time, they became embellished. People would add to them. They weren't just recited verbatim, parrot fashion, as you were saying. They were actually embellished. And you're right, and that's what should happen. When a craftsman's passing on his skills, the next generation uses those as the foundation and then embellishes them.
Kind of what Freemasonry does, isn't it? That's all moved on through script, if you like.
Right.
It's not embellished, it's like really core and it doesn't change, and they learn it verbatim, word for word.
Yeah.
And they call it the craft, ironically.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to edit that out of the video, otherwise I'll get lynched. But it's the same with a lot of things. I mentioned music before. You know, as a musician, that's what you do. You watch what somebody else does and you copy what they do, and then you put your own little twist on it. You work out how to embellish it. Otherwise, there would be no development. We'd all be playing the same music that was played however many years ago. We wouldn't be playing the music of this moment. We'd be playing the music of a previous moment. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, you're right. There needs to be aware. Even when you are copying, there needs to be an awareness, so that you can see where there is opportunity to enhance. Bring other things to it, other elements to it, other skills to it. Yeah. Interesting. Right. Let's breathe. So as we know, the breath is an integral part of being mindful, because the breath happens in the present moment. And don't copy me when you're breathing. And I suppose that's pertinent as well, isn't it? The fact that is one thing that you never had to copy. You never had to. When you were a baby, you copy, even though you know how to eat, and babies will instinctively bring to their mouth. Parents still do it, don't they? And make the kids copy. Like this. And talking, you talk and they copy and they learn to speak. And walking, there's a lot of encouragement and mimicking and copying movement. But you never have to copy anybody breathing. Even though it happens, though, if you sit with somebody, after a while, subconsciously, you can often find yourself breathing in tandem. But it's not something that you learn by copying. Okay. So you may close your eyes if you wish, and you may begin by being aware of the breath and the nostrils. Follow the breath in and out as the air enters and leaves your body via the nostrils. And if your mind wanders, it doesn't matter. Just bring the awareness back to the breath. And now you can move your awareness back a little further and be aware of the breath in the back of the throat. And you're actually able to be aware of the air passing behind the soft palate, hitting the back of the throat. Then move your awareness down further still and be aware of the breath at the top of the chest. And here you can feel the movement of your body. The chest rises and expands as you breathe in, and then drops and contracts as you breathe out. Follow that movement for the next few breaths. Now bring the awareness down further still to the diaphragm, to the base of your breathing. Just be aware of the movement here at the bottom of your lungs. And now I invite you to connect with the three parts of the breath. You breathe in, breathe out, and then there is a pause. For the next few breaths, just follow each of those phases of the breath. In, out, and pause. Aware of each part of the cycle as it happens. As you do that, I shall invite the bowl to sound. And for the next few moments, I ask you to really focus your awareness on that pause between breaths. Be aware of the stillness and the peace that exists within that pause. For that short period of time between breaths, allow yourself to fully experience that peace and stillness that exists within that pause. We breathe in and feel alive. We breathe out and smile at life. And then allow that smile to dissolve into the pause between breaths. Breathe in and feel alive. Breathe out and smile at life. And then allow the smile to dissolve in the peace between breaths. and open your eyes. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
And I
you.
will see you next time.